Hello everyone in cyber world, welcome back to another video. I'm Richard.
And I'm Jennifer, and this is our channel we call Poor Man's DIY. This week we're going to show you the xTool Rotary Attachment. So, this is what is included in the RA2 Rotary Attachment.
And we're going to go over all these pieces step by step and show you how they're used. At the end of the video, we'll start actually doing one or two engravings on items just to give you an idea exactly how it works. We don't have the items to be able to use every one of these things, but we will give you step-by-step instructions on this. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's start with the basics, the rotary and the tools that it came with.
So what exactly is a rotary attachment? If you take a look here, this here is used in conjunction with a laser engraver, and what it does is it spins and allows you to engrave on things that are round, such as this giant mug here. The whole unit will spin and allow the laser head to go horizontal back and forth until it etches the design you want to. Now, this rotary does a lot more than just this, and so we're going to go ahead and get into those, but for the time being, we're going to start off with the rollers and show you how we utilize this.
So the first step is we're going to determine the sections of the rollers for the object that we're going to use. There's A, B, and C, and these determine how wide or how big the object is. We're going to take this object right here as an example, and what we do first is we take the tape measure and we put it around the circumference, as you can see right here, and then you put this through here and we measure the circumference, and it comes into, if you pull it tightly, the red section. Okay, we take it apart, and the red section establishes that we're going to use the letter C.
All right, so the example we just showed you, it was a very big mug and it was going to be too big. It's going to be in setting C, but we want to show you how you can easily adjust this for things that are a little more narrow. So in this particular case, we're going to go ahead and switch it from C to B or even A, and we'll show you how that's done. Okay, it's just as simple as turning this over, and right over here, you will have a little screw that needs to be removed. Once that's removed, it's just as simple as pulling this out. Now that we have removed this, we're going to put it in either slot B or A to show you how easy it is. Now this is going to be a little bit difficult to see because this particular device inside has a band which is actually really difficult to see inside here. So we have a spare part and we're going to go ahead and show you. Okay, this is what is actually inside. Now, this is going to be inside, and this track here on the end of it grabs onto it, and so when the motor spins, that's what helps this whole thing to spin. So it's an easy concept, but unfortunately inside here, some of the band is more narrow on this side and pretty wide on the opposite side. Forgive us, some reason someone's setting off fireworks, we have to deal with this. So we had this on C, we're going to be moving it over to, in this case, we're just going to show you A, and it's just as simple as before, as pulling it out, you need to insert this in. The key here, if the band happens to be tight inside, you have to make sure that this goes inside the track itself and not on the top. If you smash it in and it goes on top, it's not going to turn. So be sure when you're putting this in that you're inside itself. All right, so let's go ahead and start, and we're going to go to section A and put that in. Now that that's in, we put this in place, hold it in place, and the same concept before, except in reverse. The screw that we used that was over here, we're going to now use to tighten right here. It's just that simple, and now you have something with a very narrow size here that you can fit in here, and the rollers would actually spin when engraving. Okay, now for a couple more pieces, parts that come with this here. We have this here, and we actually have a level. What are these for? Well, this is very convenient if you have a cup or something that fits right in here. What if you decide to do something very large, such as a baseball bat, or in this case, we're going to go ahead and use this roller as an example. Now, what happens if this is too long is that it won't sit on there. It could even fall over while it's being engraved, and that's going to cause a serious problem. So what we have here is simply an attachment that you would put underneath that holds the other side up. Now, what's also really important when engraving is that the surface itself has to be level. What we have here that's attached with the kit is a level. All right, so we can see how this is off. Now this device here allows you to just turn this, and it lowers and raises the device. And so we would be able, in this case, to lower this until it is level. And now we would be able to put this into the M1 and start engraving.
Now we're going to install the jaw chuck and the belt and explain exactly how it works. First, we must remove the rollers. The first one in the A slot just pulls right out. The second one is held with 2 screws. We're going to loosen the screws to remove it. We're now going to install the opposite end of the jaw chuck. This end has 2 screws that has to be attached and tightened to the rod. It's very hard to see, but there is a hole that allows you to tighten the screws. And now to install the jaw chuck and the belt. There are 2 holes that we will use the screws to tighten it to the device. Next, we're going to install single-step jaw components.
So what exactly is a single-step component? What this device does is it allows you to either grasp onto something such as a cup, or you can actually put it inside the cup and spread it out and hold it tight. So you can either grab something that's a little bit smaller, or even if it's really large, you can spread it out. Now, it also comes with additional 2-step devices. Now, these allow you can put these on its place, and that allow you to grab onto something a little bit smaller or considerably smaller. So let's go ahead and show you exactly how this works. This is done using a chuck. Simply place the chuck in here and turn, and let's show you close up on here what happens. If you watch closely, you will see that it is actually expanding. So if you have a cup, that it expands and it holds in place with pressure, or you could put a cup on the inside and tighten it, and that'll grasp it and hold it in place as well. And using this once again, we'll show you exactly how this works. In this case, we're going to use this to grip on the outside by placing that in and simply tightening it in place. Now it's in place, and this will allow to rotate and engrave on here as well.
Lastly, we're going to use stud components and a tail module to hold our ball in place. Lock the tail module in place, and you are ready to engrave. Now that we showed you all the parts, we're going to perform some tests. Now we're going to do some engraving using the rotary, but the rotary does not fit inside the machine, so we're going to make some adjustments.
In order to make the rotary fit, we first have to remove the base plate at the bottom of the M1 itself. This is done by removing 5 screws that hold it in place. Well, the truth is we've already done some tests, quite a few tests, just to make sure we understood how the product worked. We ran into some issues here and there. We finally got it worked out, and we're going to be sharing with you the tips that we learned directly from the company itself on how to set this up. And so anyhow, when using the riser itself, depending on the product that you put on here, if it's a small cup or a very thick mug, you have to raise this device up accordingly. There is a prime 30 millimeter range that the laser works at its best. So you want to make sure that the head of the laser head is in that 30 millimeter range and not too high up or not too far down. So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be raising this up, and we're going to be using the included risers. These risers have little holes that sit where the legs of the M1 is and raise it. There are different levels of heights that you can use. Actually, we have ran into one item was so big that we had to add onto this and put a piece of wood underneath to raise it up a little bit further. But for the first test, what we're going to be doing is using this here. So in order to do this, it's very simple. You lift it and place under the legs.
Now we're going to connect the rotary to the M1. First you place, there's grooves in here, so we're going to place this into the rotary, get it in the groove, just like that, and push it in. And now we're going to take the connector and connect it to the M1, but you have to, there's a little groove up top here that has to be on the groove here. We go like this, and you push it in, and you just screw this part right here. And there you have it.
Now that she's connecting it, we'll just put this underneath the M1 itself.
So our first test, we're going to engrave onto the rolling pin. So we just place the rolling pin right inside here. And there you go.
In the beginning, we showed you the various setups and what you'd had to do to place the rollers and make sure that they're at the right setting. You take the roller, you take the measuring tape, you determine the size of the rollers, and in this particular case, it was a size for the B rollers, and we already had that set up. Now, what's critical here are, again, as I mentioned, is that the laser head has to be a specific height between the top of the item that you're going to engrave. Now, I didn't quite understand the instructions that were provided on the software on the screen, and I was measuring things incorrectly. And on several occasions, it turned out when I turned on the laser to start engraving, the machine came over and it just knocked over the item that I was trying to engrave. It jammed up, and so it was actually the head of the laser was too low, or the item was too high up. I could not figure out what it was. Fortunately, on their FAQ page at the company's website, they had a solution for it, and it turns out I was doing things completely incorrectly. So what they have is a ruler that you can download and cut out on a piece of the wood, any kind of wood that you want, but you print this image, and with this image, this gives you that 30 millimeter length where the laser is ideal height above the item that you're going to engrave. So how do we use this? All right, let's go ahead and look inside here. Here is the laser unit itself. We're going to move this above the unit of what we're going to engrave, and then we're going to place this ruler and take a look at it, and you're going to look at the measurement at the top of the head here. In this particular case, we're looking at about a 19 millimeters, okay? So when we go to use the software, we'll show you where to input it, but you're going to input the total as a 19 millimeter measurement. This thing is awesome. And without this, I kept doing things wrong. And with this, all of a sudden things worked perfectly, and it's just easy as pie. So we'll go ahead and show you how we set this up on the software, and we'll start engraving. When setting up the rotary for engraving, ensure the laser dot is on the highest point of the item you plan on engraving. In addition, the rotary attachment must be parallel with the M1 unit itself. Although it's not needed, we mark the center of where we are going to align the image that we plan to engrave. Using the software,
we selected drop-down features that are applicable to the graving we are going to perform. If the auto measure feature does not function, here is where we manually input the number of the measurement that we obtained earlier. Once everything is configured, we let the M1 do its thing.
Is that not the coolest thing or what? Let's just get right into the next one. The next thing that we are going to engrave is this here giant mug. It's quite large, and let's see. When you measure it out with the provided measuring tape, you will find that it falls into the category C. So we're going to have to adjust the rotary, and I've already taken care of it. It was at B when we did the roller for the wood roller, and now we've changed it to C, so it's wider and it can handle this much better. Now the key here is this significantly is higher than the rolling pin was. So that means we're going to have to make some adjustments. The highest setting on the riser blocks that we had turned out they're not high enough, and so I needed another 3/4 of an inch or so to raise this up. And let's go ahead and use our handy dandy gadget here once more time, and we'll get the number to determine how tall this is and where we need to set it before we start engraving. All right, just like with our rolling pin, we're going to place the laser above the item that we're going to engrave. And next, we're going to use the handy dandy ruler to measure the top here and determine what settings we're gonna need. And if you look at this, I'd say that's at about a 23. So we'll go and set this, the software up at a 23 when asked. Okay, for this engraving, we've done something a little bit different. We've added some blue tape to kind of give an idea of where we want this image to be located. I marked where the center of it would be, and the very edge here is where the printing will begin, and that'll line up with the line that shows on the monitor of the laptop of where it actually begins to engrave. So as long as we get it centered on that and starting over here, the image should come out fine. So let's go ahead and give this one a try. That is way too cool.
We hope you found this video very useful for the rotary attachment.
We realize that we didn't go into full detail and show you all the tests that we had performed. In our future videos, we plan on different projects, and when we work on those projects, we will show you then specifically how to use each one of those parts that were included with the rotary attachment. So until we meet again,
Bye-bye.